Hello, everyone. Jesus Peloso here with MK Partners, and thank you for joining us for another round of our monthly Mambo Merge Office Hour series. Today is May 5th, and Matt Kaufman, our lead developer, is going to be walking us through some of the basic functionalities, setup, simple troubleshooting, and going over some of the new features that have just been released, as well as the product roadmap moving forward. So, thank you for joining, and thank you, Matt, for doing this. Take it away.
Thanks, Jesus. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. So we're not going to walk through how to install App Exchange, Mambo Merge from the App Exchange. The easiest way to do it is to go to our listing on the App Exchange, appexchange.com, look for Mambo Merge in the search, and then once you're here, you can get it now. That could take a couple minutes, so I'm not going to go through that. Upon the successful installation, you'll actually be presented with our post-installation instructions. If you ever need to see them again or you want to review them ahead of time, you can get them on our website. Go to mambomerge.com, and in the support section, you'll be able to find our post-installation instructions. But these are the exact same instructions that you would see if you went through the App Exchange as well. The App Exchange is actually showing this web page, so they're the exact same. And so post-installation, we're going to go through these steps now, as well as hopefully getting to our first merge. So here I am in Salesforce, and I just completed the installation of Mambo Merge, and now I've gone back to the Opportunities tab and gone to a single record. And this is where I'm going to want to start doing my merging. So many of our customers, they're generating documents like invoices or work orders, quotes, that type of stuff from Salesforce. And so the opportunity tends to be a common object. But we work on any object, so you can put Mambo Merge on any screen inside Salesforce. To start, what I'm going to do is click the gear in the top right corner and choose Edit Page. Now, I'm a system administrator. If you've gotten to this point, you probably are one too, because you won't be able to install an App Exchange app unless you are a system administrator. But just make sure that you are a system administrator and you have full permissions, and you should be able to click the gear in the top right corner and select Edit Page. And this screen is Salesforce's Lightning App Builder, which allows you to move things around on your Lightning page and add components. Now, components are listed on the left-hand side, and there's a lot of standard ones. You can see we have 34. And then down below, we have some custom ones that some developer has built in this org, and you might have some there. And then beneath that, you'll have custom manage, which means these are components that were installed from the App Exchange. And so here we can see Mambo Merge. And you can click on this and drag it anywhere you want on the screen. You'll notice that as I drag it, little things become green. That basically means that I'm hovering over a drop zone, and when I let go, it'll drop right there. And now we can see Mambo Merge is on the screen. On the right-hand side, after I've dropped it here, we can see more information about Mambo Merge, and we have some inputs here. We have a template ID, and we have merge field notation, as well as debug mode and set component visibility. We're going to talk about these in a little bit, but for now, I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. And this is now saving this page configuration. Now, if this is the very first time you've ever edited this page, you may be prompted to activate it as well. You can also click on activation here. What that basically means is that you're telling Salesforce when this customized version of the page should be used. Should it be used for your entire org, meaning all people, regardless of the record, or for a specific app based on the top left corner in that the 9-dot menu, or based even on specific record types and profiles. The simplest option is just to say everybody all the time, and so that's going to be the org default, and I've already done that. And then after I've activated it, I can then go back to my opportunity from the top left corner, clicking the back arrow. And so now we see Mambo Merge on the page. So that change has been applied. So at this point, we actually could start merging. You'd have to create a document, a template first. And so we're going to go through that process right now. Some things I want to point out. Right now, Mambo Merge is in the default state, which means it does not know what template you want to use. And if it doesn't know what template you want to use, it presents you with this upload files or drop files option, where you can actually choose a file from your hard drive, drop it here on this little square, and it will then do the merge. And it'll merge this opportunity record with that template. But you got to first create the template. And so we have a tool that'll help us do that. We can see here our template builder. So I click the little drop-down arrow in the top right corner of Mambo Merge and choose template builder. And this will show us all the fields that are available from this screen. So I'm going to choose the opportunity record, and then we can see here something like the amount field. And so this shows you the syntax or the merge field for the amount. field on the opportunity. You can do that for all sorts of other stuff. See, here's a custom field, so on and so forth. All right, I'm going to jump back to Microsoft Word. Let's see if I can get that to open. Let me do it a different way. I'm going to go ahead and download this template. And we'll open this one up. And Word. Okay, so here we are in Microsoft Word. And this is a template that I created earlier. It's a draft template, as you can tell from this big red draft here. And you can see I've already gone ahead and inserted my merge fields. I'll go ahead and zoom in for you. So here's some merge fields. So here's the name, account.name, owner, first name, et cetera, et cetera. And again, I got these by going to Salesforce, going to our template builder inside Mambo Merge, and choosing the field right here. And so we can see all these fields right there. Now for things like account name, you can see I can choose account instead of opportunity, and then choose name, and it'll give me that syntax. And then we could do the same thing with opportunity contact roles, which is a related list. And we can see how that would look right there. And so we take that information, we put it into this template. And this is a pretty simple template that we've created here. I'll show you a more complex template later. So here you can see that we have this information about the opportunity, its account, the owner, let's say it's a sales rep. Down here we have a table. It's going to be repeating items for each record in that related list. So you can see here for each opportunity line items, and it's going to insert a quantity, name, unit price, and then total price. And then it'll have the total amount of the opportunity down here. In general, whenever you're editing your template, if you see these red squigglies or blue squigglies underneath something, I recommend right-clicking on it and saying ignore all. That ensures that Mambo Merge is less likely to get this text split up when Microsoft saves the record. So I always recommend doing that. We would then save it to our hard drive and then upload it to Salesforce on the Files tab. And I'll show you what that looks like. So here we are on the Files tab. You can see I've already uploaded a bunch of stuff. When you hit Upload Files, you can choose that file. There's our draft template. And once it's done loading, you'll see a preview of it, hopefully. Salesforce can take a while sometimes to generate that preview, but you'll see a preview here. And what you can do is in the top right corner, click this little arrow, choose View File Details. And this will show you the record for the file. So it's not the file itself, it's the record for the file. And every record in Salesforce has a unique ID, a unique identifier. And that's going to be in the URL in your browser. And so we can see here this 18-character string. It starts with 069 in this case. And I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to come back to my opportunity, which we have over here. I'm going to close our template builder. And now I'm going to go back to the edit page screen. And we're going to find those fields specific to Mambo Merge by clicking on the Mambo Merge component. And here we see a template ID input. And you can just paste that template ID right in there. And as soon as I do that, when I click away, what's going to happen, you'll notice Mambo Merge already changed. So it's changed from the state where it doesn't know what template you want to use to a state of it knowing what template you want to use. And so I can go ahead and hit save and back. And now Mambo Merge is basically ready to go. I could have dragged and dropped or hit the little upload file button to test out my template. And often that's what we do when we're building out templates. In this case, I'm pretty confident that my template works. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that we don't have any existing files down here. We don't. And I'm just going to click the merge button. So now what Mambo Merge is doing, it did it faster than I could talk. Way faster than I could talk. And what it did is it took our template that we had uploaded from that ID. It took the opportunity record we're on, and it merged them together. And it replaced the merge field for name with the opportunity name. It replaced the merge field for account name with the account name, and so on and so forth, all the way down the line. It inserted a row for each of the line items on that related list. And here's our draft template. So that was pretty easy. That was very fast, right? And in general, we can get Mambo Merge set up in shorter than this call for all of our clients. Let's look at some more complex stuff too, though. Often our clients say, well, that's great, but what if I have two templates? So in the paid editions of Mambo Merge, you have the ability to set up multiple buttons or a drop-down. And we do that by clicking on the drop-down in the top right corner and choosing Setup. And here we can see that there's an opportunity one. And let's just paste this here. This is our draft one. Yeah, that's that. Okay. And so what we've done is we've created a Mambo Merge configuration. And the configuration basically allows you to say, instead of just using one file, I want to set up a bunch of files or a bunch of options and have this one instance of Mambo Merge behave and look differently. And you can see here it's set up to be a dropdown. And the configuration ID in this case is the word opportunity. It can actually be anything. So it could be, like sales team templates if we want. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And now Mambo Merge didn't change because we didn't actually tell this instance of Mambo Merge that we want to use sales team templates. It still thinks that we want to use that file ID. So I'm going to come back to the gear and hit edit page. And we're going to tell Mambo Merge, please use the configuration called sales team templates. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste that in there and that template ID, overriding that just single file, and hit save. And you'll notice it already changed. So now it has that drop down. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like. So here's this drop down. We can see draft and final. And just to show you where that came from, again, we'll go back to the setup, edit this configuration called sales team templates. And we can see it's the defined to display as a drop down, and there's 2 templates there. In each of these templates, they can use a different file. They can also behave differently, so they can have a different label for the dropdown. And then we can also decide where it should go. Should it attach to the record or download immediately, generate a file name, that type of stuff. Let's go ahead and see what a button looks like instead. So I'm going to change this to buttons and hit save. And immediately it changed here to 2 buttons. Now, obviously, if you're going to have a lot of these dropdown, a lot of these templates, and it's going to start getting squished, you may want to move Mambo Merge to a different area of the screen that's wider, or maybe it makes more sense to do the dropdown instead. Now I'm going to go and delete that file that we created earlier. Oh, it's not there. I'm going to hit this draft button, and it's going to do the exact same thing that we did before. It went ahead and created that file. Let's see what it looks like. There it is. Of course, it looks the same because it is the same. It did the same thing. But you can see here from the label of the file, I do have a 1. So this is the second one I created. Probably should have got a little more creative there with the file names and make it easier. Now, other times people say, well, that's great, but I don't want Mambo Merge to be on the screen unless the opportunity is closed one or something like that. And so that's an option that we can take advantage of in Salesforce as well. This is a feature that's built into Salesforce. I'm going to hit edit page at the top right corner. And what we're going to do is click on Mambo Merge. Again, this is a built-in feature. This area here where it says set component visibility, we can say stuff like only display if the stage name equals closed one, which right now it does. So it's going to stay on the screen. Oh, I didn't hit add, sorry. One more time. There we go. Done. Save. And go back. Now, again, right now our opportunity is closed one, so it's going to be there. I'm going to change the stage. And now it's going to disappear. And so this is a way you can kind of create a process with Mambo Merge where you are going to show it based on information about the record or who the person is. You can do that too. And you can have multiple instances of Mambo Merge on the page. So if we go back to edit page, we could do something like this where we drag Mambo Merge onto the screen. I'm going to put it somewhere else just so that we can keep track of which one's which. And this one, we could say something like, well, only show this one if the stage is not equal to closed one. And go back. And now we'll see one or the other. We should never see both. Right? So right now we are closed one. We see the one on the right. We change the stage, and now we see the one on the left. Change it back. And now we see it on the right. And so you can put as many instances of Mambo Merge as you want. Each one can be linked to a different template ID or a different configuration ID. And that would allow you to basically control kind of like a process, a business process around when people can generate certain documents and which documents they're generating. In this case, my final template is a different template. Let's go ahead and take a look at that as well. So we're going to go back to the Files tab. And the final one was basically the exact same. It just didn't have that draft on it. And so that could be really useful if you want to allow people to generate documents, but you got to be careful as to the recipients knowing whether it's a draft or not, you have that watermark, they're going to know for sure. I want to show you a more complex template as well, because we got a couple minutes left. So here's an example of a more complex template. Let me just download it so we can see it in Word. All right, here we go. So this template kind of highlights some of the additional features that we have available in Mambo Merge. So we have some functions. So this is a function called this year, which will just take the current year. In this case, it would say 2022, and obviously next year it'll say 2023, and last year it said 2021. We don't have to use Microsoft Word to do that. We don't have to update the template. We just use this year, and that'll take care of it. Same thing with today. That'll put today's date, and it'll be based on the day that we generate the document, and that's really useful. Down here, we have a substitute function. So this allows you to take the text from Salesforce and change it on the fly. And so here we can see we're going to take the description field, and I know it's a little hard to read because we're using semicolon as the thing that we want to replace, but we're going to replace semicolon, and we're going to replace it with comma space. And so if you did have some data in Salesforce that was not as friendly to read, you can use this substitute field to basically substitute that text to be a little friendlier. And that's a feature, a function that basically you could also do in Salesforce if you want. But for our paid editions, we provide you with the ability to do that right here from Mambo Merge, so you don't have to create additional fields in your Salesforce. Similarly, we have an if statement here. So here's a statement that says, if true, if the stage name is equal to closed one, then display this text here, which is in between. And that text is, thanks for being our customer. And then we close it out here at the end. And then we have another if statement that's saying, if false, the stage name is equal to closed one. So in this case, if it's not closed one, display this other text that says, we hope to do business with you. And so again, you have a lot of ways to accomplish what you're trying to do. We have the ability that we just looked at to have different instances of Mambo Merge on the screen. Each one could be using a different template. And you could do that. You could obviously use formula fields in Salesforce and create a new formula field and then have this text display in that formula field based on the stage name. But we also want to allow you to do it from Mambo Merge itself. And so we have the ability to do these functions in Mambo Merge where you can say, based on the data that's in the record, display one thing or display another. Let's come down to the next page. Here's another example of that for each. So this is how we do a related list in Mambo Merge. We loop through each record in the related list, and for each one, we're going to display the following, these fields. Here's an example of an image function. So we have two ways to do images in Mambo Merge. One of them is this one here, image. If you have that image in Salesforce in a file, similar to how we uploaded our template, and you can get that file ID into the record, which is pretty easy to do, then Mambo Merge will insert that image into your document as it generates the document. And you can even pass in things like the width and height. So if the image is too large in Salesforce, you want it to be smaller, you can pass in the width and height. Here we're doing it with percentages. You can also do it with pixels. We have another function called replace image that works similarly. For that one, you actually have to insert the image into your template ahead of time, get it just right in terms of the size and location, and then we'll replace that image with the one from Salesforce. Here's another example of a for each loop. In this case, we're not doing a table, we're just doing bullets. And so for each of the contact roles in this related list, we'll display these two bullets. Finally, down below, we have a couple other functions. We have the lower function. So if you wanted to lowercase something, or upper function if you want to uppercase something. Again, these are things that you can do in Salesforce. You could have a formula field that does it, but at some point you're going to be creating a lot of formula fields. So for our paid customers, we want to let them do it just from Mambo Merge and not have to create the extra fields in Salesforce. This can be useful if you have account numbers or invoice numbers, things like that, and you want it to look a certain way on the document. You can use lower and upper for that. And then down here, we have the ability to do rich text. So if you have a rich text field in Salesforce, we'll actually output that rich text into the Word document. And if something is bold, underlined, italics, or bullets, we will actually respect the way it looks in the rich text and make it look the exact same in Word for you. And so that can be a great way to inject long paragraphs of data that someone maybe spent a lot of time on inside Salesforce. Those can be put right into the document, and you don't need to copy and paste. So that's a great example of a more complex template. We also can support templates with PowerPoint and Excel. And then any of those can also be output to PDF in the paid editions. Earlier when we were back in Salesforce looking at the configuration, you may have noticed, I didn't mention it, but we do have the ability to convert to PDF. And you can even show a preview of that. And let's go ahead and do that real quick. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And that was for the draft. And now when I hit draft, what's going to happen? We're going to go, oh, I did not authorize the endpoint. Sorry about that. So there's one extra step that you have to do in order to do that. And Salesforce is all about security. So before we ever send one of your Word documents to our PDF converter, you have to whitelist that. But if you to do that, it'll take that document and then it'll show you a little preview of it before you can save it. Let's go ahead and do that. We still got 5 minutes, so I'll go ahead and do that too. What I'm going to do is just go to setup and type in remote site settings, and then we'll add that remote site setting. We'll do it again. This is only needed if you're in a paid edition, you want to generate PDFs. And again, because we're going to use an outside PDF generation tool, we want to make sure that you are aware that you're using that outside tool and that you trust it. And so you have to do this extra step. Do that, and let's come back to here, and I'll click the draft button again. And this time we should get that preview of that document. There we go. This is a great way to make sure that the document looks the way you want it to look before you save it, definitely before you send it. You can see it here. If I like it, I can go ahead and hit Save to Salesforce. If I don't like it, I could hit the X in the top right corner, make some changes to the record, maybe even update the template, and then come back. I'll just hit Save. All right. And you can see it saved down there on the record. So we're basically at time. Let's go ahead and open up for questions. Chris, it looks like you have a question.
Yeah. On the for each loops, when you were creating the template and looking at the little configuration, it seemed like it automatically knew which fields were going to be a for each loop. So that was cool. On the invoice itself, where you had the for each loop, it looks like there is some text in between. So like under opportunity contact roles there, it's for each opportunity, and then template text that'll still show up as name and role, and then the end of the loop. Is it clear in the configuration file that I can sort of put the text I want to keep on the document anywhere? Or is there some rules about where I can put that text?
So I think what you're saying is just more, this particular for each loop here, what we basically do behind the scenes is we look for each loops in your document, in your template, right? And we look for the opening tag or opening merge field, which is this one here. And we look for the closing merge field, which is this one here. And basically you can tell it's closing because it has that slash. And it's like a closing slash. And so everything in between this is going to be repeated. And whether that is a merge field or whether it's text or bullets or table rows or images, it doesn't really matter. Everything in there is going to be repeated. And it's going to be repeated once for each record in this related list.
Okay, so if I copy and paste that loop out of the configuration section, I can add whatever I want as long as I don't add it inside the curly braces. Because that's
when you say configuration, are you talking about the template builder?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So if we go back to the template builder, I'll go ahead and do that. Actually, let's do opportunity contact roles because that's the one you were talking about. So this shows you the syntax. It's very difficult for us to allow you to build on this syntax. So if I were to change this, you see it shows you the same syntax, but it doesn't have role in there. Now I can go ahead and type in role, and I could even type in regular text too, like that, right? And something like that. I mean, obviously this is kind of a weird one, but then I could copy this whole thing and paste it into my document.
Cool.
Yeah, that's something that we can work on, is trying to get this screen to allow you to say, I want to work in a for each loop. Now let me add multiple fields to that loop. We could try to do something like that. It's a little tricky. And some people, may want that at times, and other times they may not. So we'll have to figure out, how to create a nice user experience for that. But that's also why we have these webinars and why we have such a great support team, so that we can help our clients when they do have these types of questions.
Cool. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
I had a question about the image function that you presented in that similar area that Chris was talking about. You had a 50% included within the width and height. Is
Yep.
there a default that you have to set? Or
No. So if we don't include the width and height, it's going to actually take the image itself from where you've uploaded it in Salesforce and just insert it right in your document. And we do have a lot of clients that kind of go through this motion and it, learn very quickly, oh, that is a huge image, right? And so then they have two options. One is to edit the image and re-upload it into Salesforce so it's the right height, or use the width and height attributes here to scale it accordingly. And again, you can use pixels if you want a certain size. You could type in px there and make this 50px by 50px. If you have a lot of different images, in this case, it's on a related list, so you might have different images, and you're not exactly sure what the sizes are of all of them, then % could also work. In general, I always recommend get the image right before you upload it, and then that way you don't have to worry too much about getting this right, especially when you're dealing with multiple images across multiple documents and things like that.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem. All right, well, it looks like we're out of time. If there's no other questions, Jesus, go ahead.
Sure.
I think Richard has his hand up.
Nope, sorry.
Good
Sorry.
catch, Chris.
Yeah, just real quick. I'm coming into use cases of for lack of a better word, like a dynamic image insert. Like if somebody does a site visit and they want to put together some site photos or site drawings and attach it to a file, it's going to be I understand you can insert images to a template, but it's fairly static. But is there a way with this that the user on the user end can actually put in new photos for the same template? It's like, rotates out. Does that make sense? Like they want to send out a PDF, right, of like a site visit, and it's going to be the same template, but they're going to put in new images for each template. For each.
Yeah. So if the field on Salesforce points to the right image,
yeah,
then when they generate it from that record, it will have the right image.
Okay.
So the trick will be making sure that every record they're generating from points to the appropriate image for that record.
Okay.
And so you just have a field called image ID, like we did here. So this is going to be different for every record. On record A, it's going to be image A, and record B, it's going to be image B, and so on and so forth.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. If we don't have any further questions, I do want to thank everyone for joining. And if you do think of questions 10 minutes after this call, as it happens, feel free to send it our way. Our next office hour session is scheduled for June 2nd. And if you'd like to attend, follow us on social media or email us to add you to the list.